Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Astrology of 2020 workshop. So I am so super excited to be here, and I'm coming to you live from the Hello 2020 online retreat. So because we're live and we have our Facebook group happening right now, I'm just going to quickly post that we're going live, and then you will have my undivided attention. Awesome. So thanks everybody for your patience as people bop on over from our opening circle. Oh, thank you, Dr. Ariana. Dr. Ariana says it was a beautiful meditation. So basically, what this class is going to be about is talking about 2020. So I almost feel like, in a way, I've been giving everybody some spoilers as I've talked about 2020. I feel like I've been like, oh, it's oh, sorry, someone's just asked. Live circle recording. Awesome. Okay. All right. Maybe when I do this again, I'll have an assistant posting the links and things. But anyways, here we are. So the astrology of 2020. So I feel like I've been teasing a little bit as I've talked about 2020 because I've definitely given a lot of information. I mean, the last two podcasts of what the heck is energetic astrology, I talked about 2020. I'm talking about it on my Instagram. I've been talking about it on Facebook. I've been posting. I've been talking about it. But the thing is, there is just so much to talk about that this is a space where I'm really going to dive into it. This is a space where I'm really going to hash it out and break it down for you. So if you've heard me talking about it, you've heard me posting about it, and you're like, what is this all going on? You're going to find out right now. So as with any of these videos today, you are invited to post in the YouTube comments, which comes up as a chat over on my screen. You can pop over to our Facebook group, the Hello 2020 Online Retreat group, and you can share, you can talk. This can be as much your space to share as it is mine. So, yeah, just totally knowing that. If there is something on your mind, there is something that you want to say, there's something that you want us to know, tell us. So in our opening circle meditation, whether you watched or not, we really focused on this connection between the ethers and the physical, this connection between, I like to say, heaven and earth. Now, I say heaven in not a necessarily religious way. So if that word doesn't work for you, you can say the universe to physical reality. And as humans, we are this bridge. We are this bridge from heaven down to earth. And why I say that is because we have energetic selves. We have ideas. We have aspirations. We have gut feelings. We have dreams. Anybody else have some wild dreams lately? My dreams have just been I'm living a whole other life in my dreams. And so we have this really cool connection as humans. Now, part of what this energy of 2020 is about not seeing these non-physical aspects of ourselves as oh, it's just a coincidence, or that was a weird dream. That was weird. Back to work. But really seeing that is just as much a part of us as our physical waking reality, that our etheric selves, that our energetic selves, that our non-physical selves are, if not more important, at least just as important as our physical selves. So the analogy I want to start by talking about is an iceberg, where the iceberg, we have the tip of the iceberg, and then we have the water, and the rest of the iceberg's under the water. And I feel like the tip of the iceberg is physical reality. And definitely when we were growing up, definitely anything pre-2012, let's say, unless even maybe we'll say pre-2008, and I'll tell you why 2008 in a second. So we'll say anything pre-2008 is that tip of the iceberg. Physical reality was really all we knew. all we could grasp, all we could connect to. And I want to do a little note here and say that there are definitely some pioneers of our energetic selves. There are definitely people who prior to 2008 have been like doing this non-physical work, or have been, following the cycles, or have been, working with the energy. We have some really powerful pioneers here on earth. So if you're somebody, you're like, I've known about my energetic self more than since like earlier than 2008, that's because you're a pioneer. So thank you for being a pioneer, because you really pioneered a lot of space for us now. And now is kind of your time to retire. Not necessarily retire as in you don't have to do anything. But if we think back to prior to 2008, if we were, navigating the energetic self, or we were, listening to our intuitions, or we were in like mystical, non-physical like stuff, it was like we were trailblazers. So we were like on the front lines, like chopping, down the trees to make the path for everybody. It was like, hard work for a lot of people. So there's a lot of really amazing people who have done some really amazing work for the collective consciousness. And what I mean by you can retire now is it's like, you made the trail. Let's walk it. Let's walk the trail. Thank you all so, so much. Keep walking with us. Please walk with us. We love you. We want to actually like put you on like we want to carry you along the trail, because you guys have all done tons of really awesome work for us. So that's what I mean by that. It's not like retire like you're done, but your whole bushwhacking, like trailblazing time, the struggle of that has kind of dissipated. So that's what I meant by that. But so let's say prior to 2008, it was like the majority of people, and I put myself in this category as well, we literally thought that that was the iceberg. We're like, that's the iceberg. That's the whole iceberg, that tip of the iceberg. That's all of it. And now we're in this space, and really we've been in it for the last 10 years of starting to observe, oh, there's more to this. Oh, there's a lot under the water. That iceberg is really big. Whoa, oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. And this is the uncovering of that non-physical self. That's the uncovering of our true energy, our true capacity as humans. So some people talk about this as like manifestation. This, we could totally throw like the law of attraction into this category. But some people are going to feel this as like, again, like my dreams or my intuitions. I definitely know when I do a reading with somebody, when I started doing readings around like 2012 or 2011, I literally would look at the chart and I would just read the chart, and I would give examples and I would give things to people, and people were like, you're psychic. Like, you are telling me some on point stuff. You are using specific examples. But I didn't have the capacity to understand that non-physical side of me. So I was always like, no, I don't know. Maybe. Sure. It's right here. It's Saturn square your moon. It's right there. It's clear as day. Logical, right? So even, like, I'll use myself as an example. The notion of me being psychic or me being intuitive wasn't even something that like I was actually kind of scared of it. So 2020 is a year where there's been a lot of energy coming, and now it's like we can actually, like, we have the capacity to just really understand we are the full iceberg. We really are. We're the full iceberg. And what I mean by the full iceberg is we're our physical selves, the tip of the iceberg, but our non-physical selves, all that iceberg under the water. The majority of the iceberg is under the water is the non-physical. So this is super cool, because when we start to realize, or we start to really live, because I think the realizations have occurred or will continue to occur, but this is more about now starting to live from that space. When we start to live from a space of, whoa, there's more than meets the eye. Whoa, it's more, like I started talking about this in the opening circle. We're more than like 24 hours in a day. And I want to share an example of that. So I've been having some locals come over to my home for readings sessions. Thanks, Christina. Christina says this resonates. So again, if you're feeling resonance or you're feeling something you want to pop in the chat, I will drop everything to read your comment and talk to you. So I've been having people come over to my home for readings. It's been awesome. So if you are in Ontario, Goderich, Ontario, and you want to come over and meet me, It's kind of my new favorite thing because I've always been online. So this is exciting new thing that's unfolding. So anyways, this past week I had some awesome people come to my home, and one particular person, her and I just hit it off. And I had woken up that day feeling like I have a lot that I have to do. I have a lot of stuff to do. And I'm a Capricorn, like till the day I die. I have like 7 planets in Capricorn. I'm hardcore when it comes to my plan, my structure, how keeping inventory of how far I've gotten, and am I on track, and all this kind of stuff. And that's the non-physical, or that's the physical self, right? The physical self that feels like we have to stay on track. We have to know where we're going. We have to keep inventory of everything. And we all have a part of us, whether we think we're Capricorns or not, because we are all the signs. So just a quick little mini lesson here. We are all the signs. We are the whole zodiac. We are the whole sky. And really what the zodiac is it's a map of the sky. So the zodiac is a way that we've just projected this map on the sky above us, the horizon, down below us, and up to the horizon and back. So if you stand in the middle and you look your head up and you do a big circle like that, you're pretty much looking at the zodiac. Although it's kind of like, it's hard to just explain with a 2D chalkboard, but basically it's like the map of the whole sky. That's what the zodiac is. So this was our full moon that we had this week, and we had the sun in Capricorn and we had the moon in Cancer. So those areas were activated, but we're still all the signs, right? So if for me, I'm a Capricorn, my sun sign's Capricorn, I got a bunch of other planets in Capricorn. That means my Capricorn energy is activated throughout this life, but I'm still all the signs. I don't have any Libra planets, but I still have a part of me that's Libra. I don't have any, Gemini planets, but I still have this section of my own sky that's Gemini. So why I'm saying this is, even if you are not a Capricorn, you will still resonate to that side of us that needs plans, that needs to be practical, that needs to know where we're going. So I wake up, as I usually do, but I'm working on it. I'm really working on it, of like, okay, where's the plan? And I have to do this by this time, and this and this and this and this. And like, usually I'm getting better, but I used to get really stressed about my plan. I'm really stressed about if I'm, doing it on time. So I had this amazing person come over. We had a great session, and the session was over, but we were just having great conversations. So I literally thought to myself, you know what? I woke up this morning feeling like I needed to just find a new way of accomplishing things, because I just was like, I could tell I was stressed about time, and I had the awareness to say, like, to myself, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live like this. I just don't want to do it. So my friend, well, she's now my friend, was here, and we just started talking, and there was all these cool things, not about her reading. The reading had ended, and then we were talking about other things, and literally our phones were over there, and I'm like, you want a cup of tea? So we had some tea, and we were just jiving, and we pick up our phones, and I feel like it was like 4 hours had gone by. And we are both earth signs, so we're both like, we have places to go, we have things to do, and we both look at each other and we're like, how was that 4 hours? How like, what? And not one ounce of me felt like I wasted any time, because I was feeling it so much. And so this is what I mean by we're more than our physical selves. We're more than that physical construct of time, because time can just slip like that, right? All of a sudden, boom, all that time has gone by. And also, the opposite is true. Like, you can imagine if we really put all that emphasis on our physical selves, and we really think, working for this many hours is what is the most important thing, and I'm not passionate. And again, as I get into this analogy, because I kind of just flow with the analogies as they come, but my human self wants to say, nothing wrong with working a day job. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong. The energies are saying, though, in 2020, if you're doing the job and you're really miserable in it, time is going to stretch in the opposite way that I was saying. So it's what I'm saying by this is our physical self. So how we feel about something is now, even more than ever before, affecting the physical how our non-physical selves feel is even more so directly impacting how our physical selves experience reality. Let's say this again. How our non-physical selves feel about something is directly affecting how our physical selves experience reality. This feels really important. This is all new to me. So one more time. This non-physical self, how that non-physical self feels, how that non-physical self experiences something directly will impact how our physical human selves experience our physical reality. Okay, I've got it. I've got it. So an example of this would be, again, when I used to work, I was a tax preparer, and when I would prepare taxes, my non-physical self did not want to be there. You know, my non-physical self a lot of the time, I hope no one who I worked with is watching, but I was like writing astrology stuff, or I was like posting forecasts, or I was doing all different. Like I hit all my deadlines like a good Capricorn does. But my non-physical self wasn't like, I love preparing income tax. I love it. And what would happen, so my non-physical self wasn't feeling it, and my physical self was like, oh my God, these days are so long, and I need to eat some more donuts, and oh, I feel gross about myself. And I was like, ugh, really heavy and drained. Now, that being said, that heaviness, that drain was why when that contract ended, I decided to switch up what I called full-time work. And that's when I launched shannonhugman.com. So, it's all good. It's not like it was bad that I felt heavy. But what it means is that how we are feeling in our vibes, how our ethers are feeling, is now like physical reality now understands that there's the iceberg below the water. There's an understanding of how our non-physical selves are important, how they matter, how they affect us moment to moment to moment, and they're important. So, all of this being said, it's a really good thing for a lot of reasons, because it's almost as if the constructs of reality are getting really malleable. These things that used to have all the power over us are now secondary to our own power. So what I mean by this is I use this phrase in our opening circle meditation. I said, with great power comes great responsibility. And how I'm looking at this right now in my own mind is I'm thinking about it as power equals responsibility. Ah. Okay, so this is, I don't know, I just feel the call to use this. So it's like power equals responsibility. But do you know in like algebra and in math where both sides of the equation have to equal the same thing? You know, it's like if it's algebra. Anyways, if you don't, just who cares? But basically what was kind of happening before, and I'm thinking of it right now as power is our non-physical. That's our energetic selves. And the responsibility is our physical selves. So, like I've been saying, we have this non-physical capacity of who we are, and it's not just up here, it's in here too. We have all of inner space. And then how we use that in the world is the responsibility that we're to. So we have I'm not even going to use this because it's backwards. So we have our power, which is our non-physical selves. It's all that energy that we are. And then we have our responsibility, which is the physical world, our physical selves. We have to drink enough water. We have to, take care of our family. We have to go to work. We have to breathe oxygen. We have to be aware of what's happening to our planet, because we just sit in the corner and we're all our energetic selves, and we're not responsible. It doesn't go anywhere. And this is what 2020 is. It's this bridge between the two. And we've always been that bridge, but we haven't known we are that bridge. So now we know we're the bridge, we can fully embody it, and we can move forward with that awareness. So it almost feels like, because a bridge has to have equal sides, right? Or it's like a teeter-totter, and we can find this perfect equilibrium, which I'm using it on like a horizontal plane, but I really kind of feel like it's this vertical plane. And I think it has to do with connecting to our energy centers, connecting to ourselves, centering within ourselves. But what I feel like has been the condition of planet Earth is we've been really physical, responsibility heavy. So our responsibilities, when they get heavy, what happens? Our power is that they're susceptible to that. So when our physical selves are the most important thing, all of a sudden, like, our non-physical selves are just like, okay, we're just along for the ride. So we have to empower and put put I want to say like put pressure, but it's not pressure in a pressure way. It's we have to put energy into that non-physical self to balance it out. So this is what I mean by we have to step back and say, wait a minute, there's more to this. We're still going to feel the weight of our responsibilities, but it's almost like the way that planet Earth was organized was to really play on all our physical selves, play on all our responsibilities. We're going to sell them on an idea of there's this many hours in a day and there's this many months in a year, but throw in that leap year and daylight savings time. And you have to go to school and you have to do it this way and you have to retire and you have to do those things and you better provide for your family and money is hard to earn. And it's like the way that this system was set up was to like make us so responsible for our physical realities, not in a sustainable way, albeit, but so responsible for our physical realities that like our energetic selves had no chance, because we're so sucked in to those responsibilities. And what 2020 is about, it's a rebalancing of saying you can really be both. Just pay attention to your non-physical self. Oh yeah, Barbara's saying she's feeling it in her muggle job. And this is the thing, is if we're putting our non-physical self before our physical self, it's going to get really, really uncomfortable. But the thing is, we've been taught that our physical selves need to know everything, right? Our physical selves, like we have to be in control and we have to do all these things. And yeah, it's absolutely true. But these new energies are saying, just invest in your non-physical self and just see what happens. Because when we start to think about, okay, how do I, change my job, or how do I, but I can't pay for my house if I'm not working. And it's like, yeah, for sure. That makes sense from a physical perspective, for sure. I will not argue with you, but you're coming at it from a physical perspective. And so it's about saying, how about what if the change wasn't supposed to happen solely in the physical perspective? What if it could also happen, or maybe where it's been lagging is in that non-physical perspective? And again, I am not one for just sitting back and doing nothing. I think that they both need to be accompanied. But I think that the alignment has to happen first with the non-physical, and then boom, we take action in the physical. So I hope this is making sense to everybody. If you have questions, you please let me know. Awesome, Barbara. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, so it's exactly, you need to bring in some energy to your daily routine to balance things out. That's awesome. And Candace Lapointe, who's going to be speaking this afternoon, is talking about the importance of a morning routine. So that is amazing. Yeah, and Barbara says, she doesn't feel like she wants to quit. And that's the thing, is like, it's not about quitting our jobs, because then we're just forgetting about that side of the equation of the responsibility. And then that non-physical self is like, oh, I can't pay your bills. Like, whoa, no, we're equal here. I'll make you powerful, but you got to be responsible. So this comes to another theme that I'm talking. So 2020 is this new, it's kind of like a new dimension, to be honest, because these inner frequencies are getting more powerful, and we can move forward from that place of being more powerful as individual humans. And this has to do with like, who is our authority? Who is in charge of us? Who do we answer to? Because the thing is, if we are, feeling powerful, who is in charge of us? So this is this big theme, which ties into everything that I've just been saying, is this is about our inner authority. 2020 is saying the authority comes from inside of you, first and foremost. It's inside. And that's all different from the way planet Earth was set up, right? This planet Earth was set up like my boss is in charge of me, or my dad's in charge of me, or, the patriarchy is in charge of me, or the system's in charge of me. And it's gonna still feel that way for for some, for sure. Because we have to remember 2020 is just the start of the next hundreds of years. We're just at the beginning. It's just today. So it's like, if you don't feel these themes happening in your life, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's not because you're behind. You're actually just on time. Because if you were here saying, you do feel everything and you are getting this, and that's awesome too. Like, we definitely can be feeling it. But if we were sitting here saying I know how it ends, I know it all works out, we would be wrong. Because we're just beginning. So if we open a book and we say, oh, I know how this book is going to end, like, you don't. And so if you're feeling like you're in the unknown, you're feeling like, I don't know how I'm going to implement any of these things Shannon's talking about, I don't know how any of this is going to happen, that's okay. It's okay. That's actually a perfect place to be. So it's this inner authority theme is big. And that has to do with things like Barbara's saying, like a daily routine. And we can balance out the pressure of our responsibilities through really being responsible to that non-physical self. But we can't only be responsible to that non-physical self either. And this is where like we got to kind of MacGyver it. So the next thing I want to talk about is this theme that has to do with all the Capricorn energy. So I'm going to throw out dates. I'm going to throw out like technical terms for sure. So don't worry, all of that is coming. And I'm going to start talking about Capricorn, yeah. So we kind of have a story unfolding with the Capricorn energy. And again, remember my chart, whether we're Capricorns or not, we all got an area of us that's Capricorn. So we're all experiencing an area of Capricorn where this is going to be primarily happening. And what I want to invite you to do, and I'm going to ask for you to be a little patient with me on this one, but if you want to know if you want to know where the area of Capricorn is in your chart and how it's impacting you, and you want a little like insight 101 about, what all this energy means specifically for you, because I'm going to be talking about it a lot in terms of collective consciousness, but we're all the collective, so it applies to you. But if you want to know where this energy falls in your chart and you don't know how to read the birth chart, go to Google. Step 1, go to Google and Google free birth chart. Or if you know how to find the birth chart and you have your birth chart, you can skip this step. So get your birth chart, come to the Facebook group and post your birth chart. Post your birth chart. I'll actually start a thread. I'll start a thread that says post your birth chart here. Post a picture of your birth chart. That's really important. Post a picture of your birth chart and I'll come in and I'll tell you what I feel when I look at your chart. So that way we all have a little insights we can take with us. So once this broadcast is done, I'm going to post your birth chart here, post your picture. And if you're not on Facebook, email it to me. And same diff, right? So we can all have a little bit of info for our charts and what it means for us. But again, like I said, just be patient with me as I answer, because sometimes it just takes time. So there's that for all of you, because I'm just really feeling it today. So let's talk about Capricorn on a collective level. So this all represents it all plays out in a certain specific way in our lives, but it's still all playing out. We don't need to know that specific way for all of this to be relevant. So the first way I want to talk about this is Capricorn is about structure. Capricorn is about how things are structured and what is like the plan and how do they play out. It's like the skeleton. And so on a collective level, it's like the skeleton of our society. It's the skeleton of humanity. It's like, who's in charge of humanity? How does humanity operate? What's the plan, humanity? Who's in charge? And that's why this theme of 2020, which is so much Capricorn energy, is because Capricorn is responsibility. But now if we remember our power and we come back into power, which is just our energetic selves, and we own our responsibility from that place, we can really, be system busters. And we already are, just being here right now talking about this, just through our energy. So in 2008, the planet Pluto entered Capricorn. So prior to 2008, the way that Capricorn functioned, well, our society functioned, we can say, is like a triangle. So we had our society built, and it's still very much this way on a physical plane. Still very much so. Maybe you still can understand how it is. This is the structure of our society. There's, few on top, few powerful, right? Because they can observe everybody up here. They're like, hey, what are those people doing down there? Hey, work harder. Hey, I'm in charge. Hey, you do this. And then there's very many down here And there's levels to it, right? It's like there's lots of levels to it. This is like there's a lot more levels than just these levels. But it's like, some are better than others, but everybody's still holding up the top. So this can play out like, obviously there are certain, like myself, I'm a white cis female. I'm up here, I'm close to the top of the pyramid, but I'm still not the top. I'm still not the top. No, that's not in a sympathy thing. But then there are, so much. Basically, it's like the top of the pyramid oppresses the rest of the pyramid. Can't compare, my experience of being up here, having my kittens and rainbows childhood and life, compared to what down here is experiencing. It cannot be compared. It is entirely different, but it's still the same system. And in this system, no one is necessarily free to just go over there. Or, hey, I'm just gonna go explore over here. No, you are in this, because if you leave from here, this can't stay supported. So this was like coming into 2008. This was in full force. And then we have the planet Pluto. So Pluto is amazing. And I am a very Plutonic person, which is why I feel that. So Pluto is the transformer. Pluto is about transforming what is and bringing in something new. So Pluto is like caterpillar to butterfly type vibes, which is death and then rebirth. And how Pluto transforms is through the truth. So I'm not talking like the truth of like, my truth is that I love sunshine and that sunshine is good, is my truth. Not that truth like, this is what's in chicken nuggets. This is what chicken nuggets are made out of. Truth like, this is what the monetary system is based on. Truth as in like, this happened to this person, and we have video footage to see that it happened. So Pluto's truth is more just like facts. So Pluto came in 2008 in Capricorn and started breaking down the pyramid, kind of like a wrecking ball. So whenever I talk about this energy, I think about that Miley Cyrus song, Wrecking Ball. So it's like Pluto just starts coming in, douche. Let's break down the pyramid. Let's break it down. Let's break it down, primarily through information, because once we know what's in chicken nuggets, you better believe I'm not going to eat it. You better believe I'm not going to buy it either. So all of a sudden, we're like, whoa, wait a minute. We start, especially like those of us up here, start looking down, and we're like, wait, what is this? What is this? How are we organizing right now? What is going on? And we start chipping away at it. Pluto's chipping away at it. But just like the iceberg, because it's almost like this is the iceberg too, right? A lot of that chipping away, maybe the iceberg actually continues like way deeper. Pluto has just been chipping away since 2008, like in a lot of deep ways where maybe we didn't actually understand what was happening. So if you think back to 2008, we had like, bank bailouts or recessions and crashes, and like a lot has gone down since 2008. It's pretty like a lot to think about. So all these things happening, boom, 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 and all of a sudden we start thinking like, not all of a sudden, but we really start thinking like, we're screwed. Like what is going on? This isn't working. We're crumbling. And the thing is, it is crumbling. The pyramid is definitely crumbling. And I'm not going to ruin the story. I'm going to get there. So hold on. So basically, we have Pluto just like behind the scenes, because that's Pluto's energy. And as I'm saying this, if anybody has questions or if anything isn't clear, or if you feel like I'm like on a tangent or you're losing me, pop into the chat and let me know. You can reel me in if you need to. So part of this energy with Pluto operates as if it's what I like to call a bass note. So if someone was to drive down my street right now, like blaring loud bass music, I would feel it in my bones, right? I'd be like, ooh, you just feel the bass. You feel it. And that's how Pluto's energy occurs. It happens in that really powerful boom vibration where it just shakes you from your bones. So it activates something within us. So whether that's like, you feel so excited about something, or you feel so like, whoa, something's going to change from that. That's the Pluto energy. It's like the really profound feeling moments. So that's been going on behind the scenes with Pluto in the area of how we organize as a society. And it's really, and maybe it's not necessarily chipping it down from the bottom. It could have been chipping it down here. It's just like, just doing this like a wrecking ball at the pyramid since 2008. Then we have, so it's kind of been like, think about it. It's like been a demolition. It's like the world that we have our world built on is just having a wrecking ball smashing. So there's like things flying everywhere. It's like, undercover. People are being, hurt. There's all sorts of like really intense stuff going on because that's the intensity of Pluto. The base node is like, whoa, it's really, really intense, really intense. Now, what's interesting is that the last time so basically whenever Pluto is in Capricorn, it's going to reorganize or redistribute power. It's going to redistribute how we organize power. And with power comes responsibility. So it's also going to organize where the responsibility is. So this pyramid, this is what Pluto's here to renovate, or has been renovating now, starting in 2008. It's going to go till 2023, 2022, 23, like on and off. Now Pluto's going to build a new system. And that's where we're headed. And I'll talk about that next. But this old pyramid was built the last time Pluto was in Capricorn. And the last time Pluto was in Capricorn was like 360 years ago or around there. Yeah, like 300 years ago, 300 something years ago. And I think it's 360. Anyways, doesn't really matter, but 300 years ago, and this is like when like the U.S. Constitution was created. And just do a quick Google and see, and you can go listen to my Power to Pluto podcast of the What the Heck is Energetic Astrology. I talk way more about the details of it. I can't remember them right now, but if you Google or you listen to my podcast, like last time Pluto was in Capricorn, a lot of this is basically when this pyramid was built. So now this old pyramid is just doesn't work anymore. So it was kind of a scramble. It is still very much a scramble. But then in 2018, Saturn entered Capricorn. So this is important. This is really important because Saturn transits a sign every 2.5 to 3 years. So every 2.5 to 3 years, Saturn changes signs. So Pluto was in Capricorn, throwing everything around. And then Saturn comes in, and Saturn is the ruling planet of Capricorn. So Saturn wants to like get everything in charge. Saturn wants to know, wait a minute, what's going on here? Let's wrap our minds around that. Saturn's like, and what are you doing about it? Okay, planet Earth, the wrecking ball is happening. It's wrong. It's unbalanced. It's unequal. But what are you doing about it? Are you doing anything about it? Because Saturn is like the university professor who's like, I'm not going to pass you if you didn't hand in a paper. You sleep in my class. You're not doing anything. Why? I'm not going to give you any credit. And this is what today is. And like, it's so exciting. Is Pluto, who's just been there behind the scenes, chipping away, like breaking it all down from an energetic perspective. It's like the non-physical energy. And then the physical energy of Saturn are together. And it's literally what I'm talking about, that bridge from our non-physical selves, our Pluto aspect, our intuitions, our feelings, our emotions, to our physical selves, our Saturn selves, our responsibilities, our human selves, our physical realities. And so you'll see a lot of it is right now about like karma is playing out, or maybe you've heard that word. But how I feel about karma has to do with a result of our actions. So it's a karmic time because we're getting results to what we've put in. And it's okay either way, because if you've been putting in something and you're like I know someone in my life right now who I love a lot, and they've been working during a certain job for the last while, and they worked so hard to get this job, and they worked so hard at this job, and now they're just like, I don't feel good. And and they worked to get this job, and now here they are like, I don't want to do this. Great. That's a wonderful space to be, because by no means do you have to go quit that job. By no means do you have to go change something, but you're getting information. You're receiving karma through seeing what works and what doesn't. And that's what's so important, because you have both sides. You are the power and you are the responsibility, and you can move forward and you have options. There's so many options. So if you find something right now in your life isn't working, or something in your life right now doesn't feel great, awesome. It's an indication of you can evolve or change or grow. But remember, it's not about like, I'm going to throw that out. It's about, how can I trickle in bits that I want? And so with this person, they're going to scale back how many shifts they're taking, or on their free time, they're not going to, spend it wasting it doing things that they don't love. They're really going to pay attention to what they do love. So there's this way of navigating right now that is different. It's different. So we have Pluto and Capricorn coming together, and it's our physical and our non-physical selves. And now Earth is like, reality is an iceberg. There's a tip and there's one underneath. And again, if you've never thought about that this way, that's okay, because it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. It's okay. If you are ready to live that, you will feel results. If you're not ready to live that, you will feel results. And we need to scrap the whole notion of there's good or bad, right? It's like, why do we, this is the old way. This is the old system where we gotta, being higher up is better and being lower is better. And this is good and that's bad. And, all this duality, it's not about that anymore. It's literally about like, it just is. And it's just information. And with that information, we can make more decisions. And so this is where I want to talk about what I brought up in the opening circle. In the opening circle, I had my emergency alarm go off, which is something the government of Canada will send off these alarms. It was a false alarm. And so this morning, around like 7 a.m, this alarm went off, and it said that there was a nuclear power plant. Like, I'm going to look at I don't know how to find them now that I've cleared it, but it was something about like a nuclear power plant, like scary stuff, right? Which is funny because, part of how we organize in a world is where's our power coming from? Like literally, where does our power come from? So there's things like that are going to change too. So wake up, it's like a really loud alarm. It's just like, it's like power plant. So I'm like, what? But it's only for people who live like hours away from me. So I go back to sleep. As I was doing the opening circle broadcast, it went off again, and it said, there's no cause for concern. That was like a false alarm. So I really kind of in that moment see how there's going to be a lot of energetic false alarms right now. And why I say energetic false alarms comes back to this pyramid, because this pyramid is now Pluto and Saturn coming together. Whoa, it's a lot. It's literally smashing. It's like the pyramid is, I'll use my hands for this. This was the pyramid, and now it's just, and there's no pyramid. There is, in a physical sense, the pyramid is still there in a physical sense. For sure, we're still going to see power playing out. And, I don't know how much longer we're going to see it. I hope not too much longer, but it could be. And instead, everything's going to be energetically operated like a spiral. And why I say a spiral is because we're all forward, we're all backward. The people out here aren't any better than the people out there. We're all just like doing the best we can. Or another way, I guess I'm kind of thinking about it too, is like just a straight line. But this feels like too linear to me. And actually, and this might be too far out of saying it, but I'm trying to think of where this is coming from when I'm saying, but I feel like I read somewhere something that said okay, I don't know if I'm going to say this because I think I might be saying flat earther thing, and I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to be saying right now. But it's like saying how our universe is like a spiral, but it's really like, and actually if you see pictures of our galaxy, it's like pretty flat looking, right? Like our galaxy looks flat. It's like all this spiral, but it looks kind of flat. I don't know if I want to say that it's flat because I don't know. I just say it pops in my head. So I'm just saying what pops in my head. And what I'm imagining is like it's a spiral, but then at the same time, it's like so it's like the spiral. So it looks like a spiral, but it's not like a spiral just coming straight at you. It's like a spiral, like the spiral is facing this way, and we're all moving around the spiral like this. Someone throw a comment in if this is making absolutely no sense, or if it is making sense. So it's like the spiral is like this. So our old structure was this, right? Up and down, very linear, up and down. Get there faster, good or bad, right or wrong, polarity. This is our old. And now our new, which this is what 2020 ushers in, is a spiral, but it's not up or down spiral. It's like this. Yeah, exactly. So Barbara says it perfectly. If it was a spiral with height, there would still be a hierarchy. Exactly. So it's a spiral without any hierarchy. It's a horizontal spiral. We're all equal, but we're all just, floating around, dancing around together. So we're all equal, but we're in a spiral. So it's like we're not horizontal in a line like this. It's energetically like this. So this is from an energetic perspective right now. But this is where, yes, exactly. So Barbara says if it's flat like the galaxy spiral, then people can follow the spiral or they can jump to another place on the flat plane. Exactly. Thank you, Barbara, for that. I really appreciate that. So it's this whole notion of, remember, guys, this is happening on an energetic perspective right now. So on a physical perspective, we're still maybe going to see this a little bit. But if we look at this through the lens of what's happening energetically, this doesn't have so much power over us anymore because this is the true power. So if we look at this from a perspective of this is what's crumbling, this is the old way that just cannot function anymore. This is the new. This is where we're coming from an energetic perspective. And this is the energy is where it always comes from first. And this is old. This is outdated. This is done. This is like the caterpillar and this is the butterfly. So if we're going to stare at the caterpillar and think the caterpillar is going to stay the same, and we're going to stress about the caterpillar, we're wasting our time. But the caterpillar is still alive. So there are still so much oppression happening in this system. This system is still alive and well. Well, it's alive. It's not well. It's alive. It's still alive. So it's even more so important to have that energetic perspective within ourselves, but move into this. So we are literally, and this is us when we take action. We then take the pyramid and we become the spiral over the pyramid. So we're still living in this system. We're still operating somewhat in this system, but we're more than this system. We're like this. And this is that Saturn-Pluto conjunction. It's like taking the pyramid through remembering who we are energetically and boosh, it falls. It crumbles. And that's Saturn and Pluto coming together. Now, why this is also really cool is because the sun is also there and Mercury is also there. So super weird that the sun and Pluto come together for the first time in centuries in Capricorn, which is the systems, the establishment, super important area. And the sun is there and Mercury is there. And they're all there at 22 degrees, and 22 is a master number. So I've said it before and I will say it again. I feel like the universe is like a symphony orchestra and all the different planets are like notes of the symphony, right? We have like the string section and we have the brass and we have the conductor there, and it's like all the notes come together so perfectly, and this is like one of the most harmonic, beautiful moments that I could imagine. So not only do we have this Saturn, the physical selves, Pluto, the non-physical selves, coming together to and be more powerful but also more responsible, coming together, we have the sun shining all the light on this, saying, this is so important. Hello, hello, hello. And then we have Mercury, the planet of communication, saying, talk about it. Even if you're just talking about it to yourself, engage with this, communicate with it, believe it within your own thoughts. This is happening. This is exciting. So that's what's happening. And the thing is, today's the first day, but Saturn and Pluto will meet throughout the year because of retrograde. So today's themes are all year long. And they set the stage for for so much more. So that's my Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn spiel. Spent a lot of time on that. So I hope you're with me still. But I just, like I said, I say what pops into my head. But the good news also is this year, Jupiter is in Capricorn. So Jupiter is the luckiest planet of the zodiac. Jupiter comes in larger than life. Jupiter is like, this isn't very politically correct, and I don't think we all need this, but Jupiter is like the sugar daddy. And what I mean by that is Jupiter's like, yeah, you can have that, and sure, that can work out, and yeah, go for that, and yeah, you do that, and like, here's some money, and take my card, and here's the potential. And with Jupiter's realm, anything is possible. Jupiter is the yes. Anything is possible. So while we have all of this going on in the systems, this whole restructuring of system through our actions, right? Through our physical selves, through us remembering we are non-physical and then acting in a physical way. We have to embody and then act. We can't just embody and not act. But then Jupiter's there, like giving us the resources, cheering us on, giving some really so much potential. So I feel like if Jupiter wasn't part of this alignment, we would see a way different vibe. But we have a bit of like a saving grace type note happening in all of this, and that's Jupiter. So there's a lot of positivity, and I think that's why I feel so excited, is because there's also that element of like, Jupiter's here. Like, it's not only is it going to be okay, it already is okay on an energetic perspective. So I want to say that like very carefully, because it doesn't mean it's okay out there in the world. This doesn't mean you can just sit back and do nothing and say, oh, Jupiter's there. Nah, Jupiter will take care of it. Jupiter takes care of it through you. So what this looks like is giving you the resources to go out and do the work, giving you the inspiration to go out there and do the work, giving you the ideas to go out there and do the work. And that was what my first episode of season 2, which is on 2020, is called. 2020, work it out. Like, we got to work it out. We got to be the ones to be out there doing the work. So I just want to make sure that that is very, very clear, because if we just sit in the non-physical, we won't get, I don't really think we'll get anywhere, to be honest. And we might actually get kind of uncomfortable. So there's a couple of ways that I want to talk about these next sections. So that's the Pluto and Capricorn. That's like the big deal. So when you see, I like, it excites me so much, because it almost, you just see like all these astrologers talking about it, and you hear people excited about it, and you're hearing about it. And if you're not like fluent in astrology, you maybe don't necessarily get it, or you're like, what is this whole thing? And that's why I wanted to do this event, and I wanted to make it's not just about astrology. I love seeing astrologers come together and talk about the specifics. I love it, but it's not just about astrology. In fact, astrology just mirrors what we're experiencing. So it actually is like, it's way more than just, oh, Saturn and Pluto together. You can go out in the world and you can see it happening in all these different ways. You can see it in your own life. These changes that you want to make, or that you need to make, or that you see that you want out there. So I want to take all this Saturn Pluto stuff and make it just kind of convey to you that it's not just these two planets coming together and it's happening out there, and doesn't really have, it's more than just that. So what I would love to invite you to do is ask yourself, what does it mean to you? Because for me, I'm like, yeah, it's Pluto and Saturn, and it's the triangle, and it's pyramid. I got all this to say from that realm. But maybe astrology isn't your language. Maybe you have a different language. Maybe your language is art and you love to paint. Or maybe your language is communication and you've written an essay on the current events. Or your art is social justice, and you see how. And so I want to say how you see it playing out in the world. I'm interested in hearing about it. So you can either email it to me, or you can post it in the Facebook group if you want to share, because it's about more than just astrology. It's just, astrology is mirroring it. Astrology is just kind of like the syllabus of what's going on. So we're going to stay, obviously, because this is the Astrology of 2020 workshop, we're going to stay talking about astrology, and we're going to talk about the retrogrades of 2020 now. So The retrogrades of 2020 are really interesting because we have a Venus and a Mars retrograde. So I'm going to talk a little bit about retrogrades in general, and then I'm going to break it down to like translate it to what it means from a symbolic point of view. So retrogrades happen when when Earth speeds past a planet. So imagine that you're sitting on a train. You're on your train. You can maybe get creative, like, where are you going? I'm going to go to Montreal. So I'm on train to Montreal, and I'm on my train, and my train stopped, or not stopped, but my train is just starting to move slowly. Not stopped, because nothing ever stops. So my train is starting to move slowly. And then I'm looking out my window, and this other train speeds past me. So this train speeds past me. But as I'm looking, it almost seems like my train's going backwards because this train is going so fast. Even as I do this, it kind of looks like, not really, but it kind of looks like my train looks like it's going backwards. But it's this train's moving faster. So this is what a retrograde happens. Earth is the slower moving train, and Mercury is speeding. No, Earth is passing Mercury. So Mercury is here, Earth passes, so it almost looks like Mercury is going backwards, or it looks like Venus is going backwards. But really, we're all trains moving forward. It's just an optical illusion because of the speed. So let me know if that doesn't make sense in the comments, and I can kind of explain more. But basically why I wanted to say this is retrogrades are illusions. Retrogrades are as if it looks like the planets are going backwards, but they're not. Everything is still moving forward. But there is still that pulling back motion. So what I'm really excited about lately, and you've probably heard me talking about this, and this has a lot to do with the integrating of the physical and the non-physical, is go out there and look at the planets. So like when we're having a full moon, what we can often feel like is we have our full moon and we have we read the blogs about the full moon. We know this is the super moon and all these things. But are we going out and looking at the moon? Are we out there like looking up and soaking it in? I hope so. Like I totally hope so. And if you're not, that's okay too. But as humans, we can get so like in the meaning of it and the symbolism of it. And does that mean I'm supposed to burn something? Or this means I'm supposed to set an intention? Or what am I supposed to be doing? It's like, just go look at the moon. Like, just go look at it. That's all you're really supposed to do. Just go look at it. If you can notice how you feel, you are so much more ahead of the game. That's all you have to do. So we have this is moving into 2020. I feel it so strongly, is like, go out there and look at the planets. Look at the moon. There's an app called Stargazer, I think, and that can help you find the planets if you don't know which they are. But like Venus is one of the brightest that you see either before dawn or sunset, or you can Google it, or you can say, how do I find the planets? Mars is like, almost has this like orange tint to it. It's really cool when you see Mars. If anybody's seen Mars and knows what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. But it's this orange tint. So in 2020, if you can get clear, I mean, it's cloudy a lot of the time where I live right now in the winter, so not necessarily feasible, but just getting a grip of like what planets are where is going to be huge for this year, and then just for your own like energetic self, because it bridges. So if you have an understanding of like what these cycles mean, and then you physically see those planets, it's really cool. And so this is why I'm saying this, because if you can get, you find Mars in the sky, or you find Venus in the sky. And I did this for the last Mars retrograde, which was like about 2 years ago. During a retrograde, the planet will actually look like it's moving backwards. So it would have been like summer 2018, I think. I could be wrong, but let's say it was summer 2018. And I knew at the beginning of the retrograde, I was like, oh, there's Mars out there, like above that tree in my backyard. And usually the planets are going to be going like this, like moving forward, right, through the zodiac. And then Mars, though, the next like week, he's moving further away. He's not above that tree anymore. And oh, now he's over there. And oh, look, there he is. And so all summer long, I watched Mars go from here to here. And then when the retrograde ended, I watched it go forward again. So retrogrades, and same with Mercury, if you can find Mercury in the sky, you can actually watch these retrogrades happening. And that gets me really excited. I think that's super cool. So retrogrades are this energy where, yep, Mars was going backwards. It's the perspective of it going backwards, Mercury going backwards, Venus going backwards, whatever. So I like to think of it as all things R-E. So it's like reclining or relaxing or rethinking or reorganizing or reassessing or, did I say releasing? All that kind of vibe. So yes, of course we hear, and I'm going to throw some dates at you as well, but yes, of course we hear how retrogrades are like, dun, dun, dun. And I want to say to that, retrogrades have always been happening. Your whole life retrogrades, Mercury retrogrades been happening. Maybe you didn't know about it, but you were fine. You were fine. So we'll be fine. So it really, retrogrades are this time of relaxing. But really getting clear of what's going on within ourselves. So let's talk about Mercury retrograde specifically, then we'll talk about Venus, then we'll talk about Mars, and then we're going to move into a different topic about eclipses. So Mercury retrogrades are going to be happening February 15th to March 9th, June 18th to July 12th, and October 13th to November 3rd. So those three-week periods of time. So Mercury is the planet of communication. And a lot of how we communicate as humans is now, humans in 2020 are, and for a while, is through technology, right? We use like our phones to communicate, or we use the internet to communicate, or we use all these we have all these tools now to facilitate communication. So Mercury retrograde means communication kind of goes, oh, let's just chill out on it. So we see, technology going glitchy, but it's not like Mercury is out there like, I'm going to break her computer. If anything, Mercury's like, whoa, we are overstimulated. I need that computer to shut down. That's too much stimulation. Because Mercury is all about stimulation. And in our world where it's like, woo, we're so stimulated that a Mercury retrograde time is a time to really de-escalate. Mercury retrograde is a time to get connected to nature, or to just get connected to natural communication. And when I say natural communication, I mean like communicating face to face, or communicating like it's written on a piece of paper and I'm really gonna read it. Communicating like I got this email from someone and it says I'm reading all these things between the lines. So instead of responding with all these things between the lines, I'm gonna just paraphrase what they say, and say, this is what I'm hearing from you. So Mercury retrogrades, yes, maybe communication can go off. There can be misunderstandings, plans can go a little AWOL, but it's really because there's this opportunity to get face to face, to get really clear. And also to ease off on the computers, ease off on all the simulation, because it's a lot for our little nervous systems. Mercury retrograde is like a vacation for our nervous systems, and our nervous systems need that. And so if we're someone who's there and it's like our computer broke and oh my God, I have all this work to do and I have all these things to do and oh my goodness, this can't be happening. I'm going to go get another thing and it's like, okay, go for it. You will still be fine. You will still persevere. But are you stressed? You're probably stressed. And as humans, we're like, oh, Mercury retrograde broke this and now I'm stressed because of this. It's like, I don't think the stress is really about the computer. I think there's something else going on. So Mercury retrograde is about, let's take Mercury retrograde in 2020 and take it deeper. Let's take Mercury retrograde and make it, more sacred this year. And of course, we're going to be on computers. Of course, we're going to be, having conversations. But if we can really reach back to natural communications, wholesome communications, like face-to-face, or again, paraphrasing if we're not able to be face-to-face, or, turning our computers off, or really setting our screen times on our iPhones for, less limits or whatever. it will go far and we'll feel less stressed. And then our nervous systems will be like an employee who feels like they get awesome vacation days. And when they come back to work, they're like, I love this organization. This is great. I'm ready to keep working because you value my downtime as well. So if anybody has questions about Mercury retrograde or any experiences or stories that you want to share, please feel free to comment on the video or post in the group, because I really feel like it's the narrative of Mercury retrograde like is evolving and changing, and that's exciting. So our next retrograde we're going to talk about is Venus retrograde. So Venus is retrograde from May 13th to June 24th. So from May 13th to June 24th, Venus is retrograde in Gemini. So this is really exciting, and I was going to go in an order, and I'm not going to now, because I'm going to talk a little bit about eclipses at the same time, because it all kind of is like I said, it's like a symphony orchestra. It all falls together. So we're coming back to Venus retrograde in a second, but we have the nodes of the moon switching signs. So this is really, really important, because the nodes of the moon are where, and I'm so happy I set myself up with some paper today, because usually when I explain this, I'm like using my fingers and stuff. So I'm not doing that this time. So we have Earth, and then we have the moon. Actually, bear with me for a second. We have Earth, we have the sun, and we have the moon. Awesome. Okay. So, nice little scribble here for you. We have planet Earth here. I made her too small at first, so here's planet Earth. It's just really rough. So we have planet Earth here. Okay. Then we have, this is the sun's orbit. So the sun, it looks like we're on Earth, right? So we're looking at Earth. So it looks like the sun is going around us. Like it rises in the west, it comes, it sets, it comes back and down. Then we have the moon's orbit. And the moon's orbit is kind of back to that like flat energy, where the moon's orbit is happening like this in kind of like an oval way. So it's like an oval. So this is like the oval, but it's not necessarily the same kind of oval as the sun, but it's like, imagine we have, I really want this like device. It's like, babies, they have the mobiles and they like look at the mobiles when they're sleeping in their beds. That's what I want to describe this. So I'm bringing that into form this year. So we have Earth in the middle, right? We have the sun that orbits around, and then we have the moon that orbits more like in this oval type shape. They're not the same orbit. But we have spaces where the sun's orbit and the moon's orbit intersect. These 2 points, they line up. And these are called the nodes of the moon. So the nodes of the moon, while they're not physical bodies, because the sun's orbiting and the moon's orbiting, from the perspective of the Earth, it's like the nodes of the moon orbit as well. And the nodes of the moon change signs every year and a half. So can anybody guess why the nodes of the moon have to do with the eclipses? And I just realized, I think this video is like lagging by 20 seconds. So if anybody's guessing, pop your guesses in, but I'm just going to tell you because I don't want to wait for 20 seconds. So obviously when the sun and the moon, sun, moon, and Earth line up, we have an eclipse. Because if you think about it, it's the sun and the moon eclipses the sun, or the sun shines on the moon disappears because the Earth is intersect. So we have an eclipse because eclipses are times of alignment. Eclipses happen when everything lines up. So this is the energy of eclipses, and where the eclipses fall have to do with where the nodes are. So when the nodes switch signs, that means we're going to have eclipses in these signs. And where eclipses fall, eclipses are like, they line up the energy, they till the soil. They're like a high-speed train that's going to take us where we need to go. They're a chiropractic adjustment that aligns all our structures in our lives, and they get to work. So from November 2018 to May 2020, we've had the nodes in the constellation of Cancer and Capricorn. So we've had the nodes in constellation of Cancer and Capricorn. We've had eclipses in Cancer and Capricorn. And that's what's been up. We've had eclipses in those signs. So that area, Capricorn and Cancer, which makes sense because, again, remember that whole spiral pyramid type thing, all that Capricorn energy is happening in Capricorn. So, of course, we're having eclipses there too, just another indication of the symphony that's the universe. And then in May, these nodes are going to switch to Gemini and Sagittarius. So in May 2020 till November 2021, we have new assignments from these eclipses. We're getting new types of Chiron adjustments. We're getting new high-speed trains taking us to new destinations, Gemini and Sag. Going to talk about that in a second. But why I brought this all up is because this Venus retrograde is happening in Gemini at the same time that the nodes are moving into Gemini. So May and June are really shifty times, but they're shifting out of Cancer and Capricorn, which is all work or all tears and so intense and so like hardcore, to Gemini and Sag, which is like fun. Let's learn. Let's share what we've learned. Let's explore. Let's talk. Let's get excited. Let's, like there's just so much information sharing. It's about like sharing and having fun. And Gemini's like, oh, there's something shiny over there. Let's go see what that is. And oh, what's that over there? So these themes, this May is a pivoting from the really heaviness that we've been in since November 2018, where we're like, either things are breaking down and then we're grieving them, or we're so in our grief we can't ever imagine rebuilding. And there's all this like really intense energy going on, really personal energy. And then May 2020 comes in and it's kind of like a dog that comes out of the water and just like, shakes it all off. So of course, it's not saying shake it all off and ignore all the ways that we can be change in the world. It's just shaking it off and getting to be change in a more fun, stimulated, less emotional way too. It's kind of like we're dealing with all our emotions now so we can really like not take things so personally moving forward. So Venus retro in Gemini is so important because it's going to be right around these nodes shifting. So just another cool thing about 2020 is that everything's happening like boom at this perfect point. Ooh, we're all coming together. Not a coincidence. And so Venus is the planet of relationships. Venus is about how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to others, how we relate to food, or how we relate to comfort, or how we relate to nature, or really it's like about how we allow ourselves to receive. Because whenever we're relating to something, we're giving and we're receiving, and that's what a relationship is, right? Is balance of giving versus receiving. And so Venus is also about what we give as well. And so in Gemini, this is really, and retrograde means we're rethinking, we're relooking, we're making new space. Venus retrograde in Gemini is really saying like, is there room for fun in your relationships? Is there room for some freedom in these relationships? Is there room to just like shake it off? Because, and this is primarily with our relationship to ourselves and others. So that time, May 13th to June 24th, is like, let ourselves have fun. But again, it's all information. So if we're not letting ourselves have fun, there's some amazing information for you to be really aware of. So it's all about how much can we loosen up. How much can we share our ideas? How much can we speak up? How much can we really gauge where our level of freedom is in these relationships? And so it could be like my relationship to someone who I have to see them every Monday night. And I'm like, I don't want to see you every Monday night anymore. And they're like, well, if you don't see me, our friendship's over. This is not a real person in my life. But, Venus retrograde in Gemini would be like, well, then we can't be friends. These rigid guidelines in relationships won't really won't thrive in this energy. But just like if my relationship to food is like, I have to eat this many vegetables and I have to do this and I can't eat that. It's like, again, that's not like a free spirit type relationship. So it doesn't mean that there isn't commitments. There is definitely commitments, but the commitments are up to being negotiable. Like commitments can change and grow. And so it's a really, really good thing for those of us who are afraid of change or who feel like, but I have to control somebody in order to know they're not going to leave me. We need to just work on our relationships to ourselves during this Venus retrograde, because we're not giving ourselves any space in relationships if we're coming at our other relationships through that lens. So if anybody has questions about Venus retrograde, let me know. What's also cool is that I'm going to jump no, I'm not going to jump ahead. I'm going to wait. But then we also have Mars retrograde. So another sweet thing about this year is we have Mars retrograde and Venus retrograde in the same year. So I always think of Mars and Venus as like counterpoints. They're like brother and sister, or husband and wife, or, you know, it doesn't even have to be that traditional like that, but they're like masculine, feminine, and they all exist within us. They're like our masculine, our feminine, our mother, father. We all come from both of those sides. So, even though we don't have to literally come, it doesn't have to be literal, but, you know, because a lot of people could have two mothers, right? And that's fine. But it's like at the end of the day, we come from a masculine and a feminine side, like the egg and the sperm. Let's just call it that, the egg and the sperm. So Mars and Venus, they don't always retrograde in the same years. And it's really cool because, again, it just says to how 2020 is such a reworking year. It's such a like, all right, we're going to just really switch it up. And, you know, the masculine like structure is still kind of there, but we're reworking it all. So Mars is retrograde in Aries. So this is pretty huge because Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. And this is happening from September 9th to November 13th. So how I'm going to talk about this first is I'm going to say Mars in Aries is like full steam ahead. That's like the warrior. That's aggressive energy. That's really intense energy. It's like, I'm going to fight for what I want. I'm not going to think twice. That Mars in Aries is like, if there's a wall in front of me and I'm like, I'm getting to the other side of that wall and I'm going to just bust my head against it and bust my head against it and bust my head against it and say, I am breaking this wall down. Did you hear me? I told you I'm breaking this wall down. Bust my head against it till that wall breaks down. So what happens there? Like my head hurts. Maybe I get through the wall. Probably not. Like it's just like really macho man is what it feels like. But we're lucky because it's Mars retrograde in Aries. So basically the retrograde of all of this is saying like macho man mentality, it's expired. Because so imagine I have a wall in front of me. I'm going to get to the other side of that wall. And instead of me feeling like I'm going to bust through, what if I do the opposite and I take a couple steps back? And I take a couple steps back and I look around. And I take a deep breath, and I know I want to get on the other side of the wall, but I'm taking a step back, and I look over there, and I'm like, there's a doorway. There's a doorway over there. I'm going to walk through the door. I still get through the door, and it is way easier for me. So during this time, September 9th and November 13th, a lot of intensity. There's going to be a lot of people who still have the macho man mentality, but it's even more important for those of us who know, because when we know better, we can do better, to take those steps back, to take those deep breaths, to like find the alternatives, to really, that is a time where do not buy into urgency. Do not, maybe that's some of those false alarm energies too. You know, and why I was saying they're false alarms, I don't know if I said this. I think I touched back on it. But anyways, the false alarm analogy is like, it's still a real alarm in physical world, right? On physical side, we're like, whoa, these real things are happening. We need to take action on them. We definitely need to. But from the universe's perspective, the universe is like, it's not as big deal as you think. It's not as a big deal as you think. That's why you can take a deep breath for 30 seconds, still move forward because it is important. The universe is not saying it's not important. The universe is just saying, it's not as urgent as you may think. So that time, I'm actually really interested at when I did this workshop at a local studio, somebody told me that is when the US presidential election is going to be. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, that's exactly the kind of energy that is needed during that intense time. Take a deep breath. take that deep breath, because in a lot of ways, like, electoral systems were built, in the pyramid times. So, not like ancient pyramid times, but like hierarchy times. So, it's literally like how we choose who goes up. So, anyways, it's kind of cool because it's like the spiral is like the, ooh, step back, just take a deep breath. So that will obviously most likely be an intense time for many, but I feel like it is like the universe is just, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to pop in. Now I'm going to move into the eclipses. So like I said, the nodes are switching signs. So we're going to have a whole new set of eclipses. But the first eclipse we had this year was on January 10th, which was 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. So we just had an eclipse. So that was a Capricorn eclipse. So that was that was like the last Capricorn eclipse. So something has ended. Something has really ended, and that cycle that is ending started in November 2018. So it's a lot. It hasn't like totally, it's kind of like at the end of a movie where you watch like the final scene and then the like credits roll. We're kind of in like the credits rolling, I think, right now, until the summer solstice. So this is so awesome. And again, it just speaks to like, even though 2020 is intense, even though it's a year where there's lots of drastic shifts, it's all good because the summer solstice is the brightest day of the year. And on the summer solstice, we have a solar eclipse. So like I said, eclipses line energy up. When there's an eclipse in a certain area, it's like, this is important. Pay attention here, let's line it up. And the universe is basically lining up the summer solstice. So more sunshine, more positivity, summer vibes, goodness going. And the summer solstice is about going out there. The winter solstice is about like, let's go within. That was in December 21st, so we're still very much in that time. So winter solstice is about like the sacred within. Summer solstice is like, go out there and celebrate. And I always think of the scene at the end of the 40-Year-Old Virgin where they're all dancing and singing to that 70s song. Like that's summer solstice type energy. So it's like the universe is eclipsing that energy, saying like, come on, go out there, people, like connect with others, like express, go out, go out, go out. So summer solstice is going to be really, really special this year. And if you're somebody who wants to like celebrate things, that's a great time to celebrate. So doing something special and active again is going to be really, really good, especially if you can infuse like some purpose in that celebration. So it's like you're not just like, I'm gonna, well, you do whatever you want to celebrate, so I'm not gonna tell you what you can't do, but doing something that feels like on purpose would be really, really cool. But mostly just letting more sunlight into your life, I think, is what that theme is about. Is like the dark days are over. It was really dark. Was really intense. And the summer solstice is very much like the pivot of the year. Like, okay, let's get on to some brighter times. Then we have a lunar eclipse on November 30th. So this is in the sign of Sagittarius. And again, Sagittarius energy is about what are we learning? Hope comes from learning with Sagittarius. So there's a lot possible, but we got to get out there and we have to learn. So the November 30th eclipse is really about like getting interested in what is going on, like seeing life as a library, as the universe is a library, like soaking up the information. And maybe you like go out and you look for the information, but also your experiences may just be the information as well. So that's November 30th. And then December 14th, we have a total solar eclipse in Sag. So I actually didn't research where we can see this eclipse from. So I'm not sure where you'll be able to see it from, but a quick Google search will tell you that. So December 14th, a total solar eclipse. So have you guys heard like about partial eclipses or total eclipses? And basically what that means is it's like for a partial eclipse, it's like I'm just going to use my hands because I like to. It's like, okay, here's the moon, and then the earth, it is partially eclipsed, which means like just that little corner of it gets eclipsed. So it's like the moon, little chunk of it, and then it goes away. But on a total line, it's the total. So these are really, really significant. And this is happening on December 14th in Sagittarius. So I really feel like this is like, oh, this is a nice way of saying it. You know, when we read the epilogue of a story and we're like, oh, I'm just happy to know what ended up happening to those characters. But in a way where it feels like it's a positive epilogue. It doesn't mean the series is over. It doesn't mean that there isn't more work to do. It doesn't mean that, you know, it just brings some hope. It just gives some context to everything that's happened. It's like, wow, okay, those things happened. And now look at, we're going to move forward in a new way. And I think is a time for some serious it's a blast of optimism from the universe. Which is, it just feels really exciting. So it feels like the first half of the year is much more gnarly than the second half of the year. So it's like, not that the first half of the year has to be gnarly. It's just saying, hey, you got great power, amp up the great responsibility, please. And then finally, on the winter solstice, so again, how cool is this? We have really important energy on the summer solstice, really important energy on the winter solstice. This is when Saturn and Jupiter come into Aquarius. They come together in Aquarius. So remembering Saturn is our physical selves. Jupiter is like our beneficiary, our investor, our sugar daddy, our sugar mama, our sugar selves, and they're coming together. So it really in Aquarius. So Aquarius energy, solutions that come from left field. Aquarius energy is kind of like the star people who come down and are like, there you go, planet Earth. And I don't think I'd be surprised if that happened, but I believe everything. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. In fact, I usually say this whenever I talk about the planets, and I'm going to say this now because it's important to me. I don't predict the future, and I don't fortune tell, and I don't believe the future is set in stone. I think we create the future. So all this information is so that you can take it and you can navigate and create the future. And I feel like that winter solstice is a time where we get a lot of inspiration and a lot of tools as to how we want to create moving forward. So that's another really important day too. And because it's the solstice, that's a winter solstice is inside. So it's really like, what are we going to create from inside? What new technology comes from within us? So this has been amazing. Like I never know what I'm saying, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch this because I feel like there were some really awesome aha moments. And I really want to just come back to a final point before we end this broadcast of this is about investing in your own creation, investing in the world that you want to create. And so it's like we have that non-physical and that physical, and it's really that investing in ourselves, but then putting ourselves into the world and investing into the world, but investing in that non-physical self and then investing in the physical world, utilizing the non-physical self. I hope that makes sense to everybody. I'll wait a couple moments in case anybody has any questions. And then we're just going to do like a mini micro visualization to end this off. And then we're going to have an hour break you can do whatever you want to do on your break. And again, I've said this, but I'm going to say it again, is like this content is timeless. We are in this, we're living in the spiral now. Energetically, this is what's happening. So time is like, whatever. So if you can't make it live, don't worry. If you're watching the replay, thank you for being here. I really hope you're feeling it as much as I'm feeling it. So I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds to see if anybody else asks me a question. And if not, I am going to do the little meditation. So I'm going to wait 5 more seconds, and then it's just going to be like a few seconds of visualization, and then we'll reconvene. And actually, you know what? I'm going to end this in a visualization. So I'm going to give you a little heads up for what's coming next. So the next is movement for every body. So anybody's welcome. We're going to be seated. Maybe we'll be like, we're not going to be doing a lot of crazy movement, but because part of these energies are our physical selves, and I knew there's going to be a lot of not physical information, I wanted to just guide a brief little class about really moving our bodies just to honor that physical self. So that starts at 12 Eastern Standard Time. And that will be me teaching that. So let's come together for a moment. If you feel comfortable, just gently closing your eyes or softening your gaze. And just taking a nice natural breath. And just in your imagination, just imagining the planets out there in outer space outside of you. Maybe just imagining Saturn and Pluto coming together. Maybe imagining just things lining up. You don't have to get too specific here. It's just for fun. Just imagining these beings or these celestial bodies clicking into place. And then pulling your awareness from outside to inside and imagining that within you is an expansive inner space that's just as vast, if not more, than that outer space. This big inner space that exists within you. Just feeling into that for a second, just pretending that that's there. And now just gently imagining that there are little celestial, not little, maybe they're little, but there are celestial bodies within you that are clicking into place, mirroring those external transits. Those are happening within you. Kind of like a combination lock, just lining up perfectly. And like that combination lock goes from point to point, imagining energy just lining up within you, clicking into place. And then that lock opening and just feeling into this opening that's occurring within each of us. So feeling for you, but then imagining that there's just a grid of people around the world and it's all clicking into place. And just feeling into the potential of that. And then gently asking yourself, what am I going to do with that? Not in a way where you need the answer right now or you have to pinpoint it, but just asking, what am I going to do with this? Awesome. So tapping your feet or coming back into the space or staying in meditation if you want to. I'm going to end this live stream. I cannot thank you enough for coming and listening to this, for commenting and engaging. And I really feel like this is so important. And like, it just feels so important that we're all here talking about this on today. So thank you. Thank you so much for receiving it. Thank you for listening. It is just such a gift to me that you take the time to hear this. So you are a rock star, and I can't be more thankful. So I will see you at 12 Eastern Standard Time in about an hour, and we will keep going with some physical movement, gentle. Everybody can do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, though. Well, we were really focusing on all that celestial energy this last hour. Like, woo, I don't know about you, but I feel like out there. And then we're just going to come back into physical in about an hour. So maybe get some food, take care of your human selves, drink some water. We'll keep on rolling. Thanks again.